big bowl, little glass, big jar and water. So we have a big bowl, a little glass, a big jar and water. Now this bowl represents the whole world. It represents all our family members and friends, all our loved ones. It represents everyone we meet. It represents the whole of creation. This little glass represents me. It represents you. It represents each and every one of us. This large jar should be infinite in size. This large jar actually represents God. And the water in the jar represents the grace and the love of God. Now God is always wanting to fill us with his grace and his love. But God cannot impose his love upon us. And so if we turn away from God, God's love is wasted on us. But if we turn back to God, if we turn towards God, if we open our hearts up to God, then God can begin to fill our hearts with his grace and his love. And eventually, our hearts are filled with the grace and love of God. But once our hearts are filled with the grace and love of God, God does not stop there. God continues to pour his love into our hearts so that eventually this love overflows from our hearts. And just as this water overflows from the glass into this bowl which represents the whole world, so also God continues to pour his grace and his love into our hearts so that it overflows into the whole world, into all the people we meet and into the whole of creation, until eventually the whole world is filled with the grace and the love of God. Now this is really a reminder as to what we are called to do in the Sacrament of Confirmation. In baptism, we have already opened ourselves up to God. We have already begun to receive the grace and the love of God. But now in the Sacrament of Confirmation, we are asked to bring this grace and this love to other people. Just as the apostles, when they received the gift of the Holy Spirit in the upper room, were sent out to preach the good news of Jesus Christ, to bring his love and his grace to other people, so also in the Sacrament of Confirmation, you are now called to receive the grace and the love of God in ever more abundance, and to bring this grace and this love to all people, to bring the good news of Jesus Christ to the whole world, to everyone we meet, and to the whole of creation.